All right, we're good.
Great. I'd like to call to order the March 3rd meeting of the Chagrin Falls Board of Education. Ms. Brudno, if you'd please call the roll.
Mr. Rankin.
Here.
Mrs. Garvey.
Here.
Mrs. Burrows.
Here.
Mr. Kinzinger.
Here.
Mrs. O'Toole.
Here.
All right. Give me just 1 second here. Oh, sorry, I haven't had time to set it up. If you please find your local American flag and please join me in saying the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you very much. I'm sorry, I'm still trying to get the agenda. Are the committee reports the first thing up that we have?
Minutes. We have
Approval of minutes.
Yeah, we have minutes from February 3rd and February 17th.
Okay, is there a motion to approve the minutes?
I will make that motion.
All right,
I'll
thank you.
second
Mary
it.
Kay. All right, thank you. Any discussion? All right, Ms. Brudno, if you'd please take the roll.
Mr. Rankin.
Yes.
Mrs. Garvey.
Yes.
Mrs. Burrows.
Yes.
Mr. Kinzinger.
Yes.
Mrs. O'Toole.
Yes.
All right, very much. Now on to committee reports. Ms. Garvey, if you please start us off.
Sure. Well, do you want to go to Mary Kay or do you want me to jump in? Whatever.
Okay, why don't you start us off?
Okay, I will start you off. So the Business Advisory Committee, there's actually a meeting tomorrow. The ESC is hosting a virtual meeting tomorrow from 9 to 10:30 a.m. with guest speakers from Avery Dennison, the University of Cincinnati School of Early Information Technology program also. I am unable to attend that because I have another commitment, and I think Bob had shared out the information to the rest of the board. So if anybody would like to, you're certainly welcome to attend that. With regard to capital planning, we do have a meeting scheduled for Thursday, April 8th at 4 o'clock, and that will be via Zoom. That is a hold the date right now. And the Board Finance and Budget Committee has no report tonight.
Okay, very good.
All right, Catherine, what time did you say capital planning was?
It's at 4 o'clock.
Thanks.
Great. Mrs. O'Toole?
No report for the audit committee and policy committee. Just going to say we'll probably be having a meeting sometime in March, but I reviewed the February policy development quarterly put out by Ohio School Board Association, and there is not much we will have to change. In fact, we get to rescind policies. The policies that had to do with the CARES Act and stuff are now passed. So I think we'll have the shortest policy committee meeting ever, I'm hoping. So
Awesome, but keeping policies current, which is always a fair maintenance to do. All right, great. I have no report for record retention committee. And now at this point, I will turn the meeting over to Dr. Hunt for the superintendent's reports.
Good evening. Thank you. This evening we have a brief update from our school resource officer, Officer Baldwin, and Ms. Rossi, who is the assistant principal at Chagrin Falls High School. As the board is aware, we extended the agreement between South Russell Chagrin and the school district to keep this position in place. There's been a tremendous amount of progress and certainly an upside to having this position in place. And Mike has become a real valuable member of our team. So I'll make some brief comments at the end as well, but I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Rossi and Officer Baldwin to give you a brief update. And then certainly if you have any questions, we'll address those as well.
Great. Thank you, Dr. Hunt. I'm going to start with sharing my screen. Thank you all, by the way, for having us this evening. Officer Baldwin and I work in tandem basically every single day. I've had the fortune of working with him since April, I believe now almost 4 years. Since he started a little earlier than we had anticipated in April a few years ago. And so our offices are basically attached. We share a wall. So I have the fortune of working with him every day. And so we collaborate across the district on multiple fronts, but I'm going to start with sharing the presentation that you should have access to, but I'll start with this right now. And then Mike, please feel free to jump in at any point. But this just provides you with a little bit of an update as to where we are currently and what we have been able to do in the last 4 years. So Mike, if you want to chime in, please go ahead.
I lost the audio. I don't know if anybody is able to hear me.
Yeah, we can hear you.
We're good? Okay, am I up to go? Amanda, I didn't see.
Yep, you're all set.
Okay. So if we look at these 4 blocks here, this kind of just is an overview. If when you're sitting there thinking, what does an SRO do? What is he there for? And how do you see the difference between where I fit in? It's a community partnership with not just the school, but with the community and what we can do and work on things together and bring in that there. Obviously, as the law enforcer role, promoting safety around the school, anything that happens that is criminal activity or anything, obviously I'm a first line liaison to our police department and can work in conjunction with them and the school when it's something that involves both. It's really nice to have that movement, and especially when something comes up where I can easily move from the school environment and right into the law enforcer role. Then you have down there an educator. That's when I'm given the opportunity to go into classrooms and speak on things that are specific to what I do or what my role is, or something that can be helpful to teachers or students based upon topics that would kind of come into the realm of or the field of law enforcement. Up in the upper right, the informer counselor, obviously building relationships with the students and the staff, ensuring them just that I'm another individual that they can reach out to, that they can look to or collaborate with things as results of safety and with the school or with the students and their concerns. I found it very beneficial walking around, and when I get to interact with staff after we have a training or something, those training conversations will continue after a training where I can get feedback and also share things that I saw about the training, or if they have an extra concern that I couldn't address because there's too many people, I can have that one-on-one time that kind of helped out. So that's another way that helps out with the safety aspect. And then down the bottom right, in an emergency advisor, obviously working with the school board and the administrators and principals and teachers on how we can best keep the school safe. I know that there's when we're working between what you guys have to do per the state policies and what I can offer with my expertise and knowledge, and we put that together, and that's where the team collaboration really comes in. When we talk about the Alice train, we talk about those type of drills, or even just with recent COVID-19 procedures and things like that, all that comes together in that realm.
Part of what will now become mandated is having a threat assessment team and training for the district. We were really fortunate that Dr. Hunt, myself, and Officer Baldwin were able to attend a training really on the forefront of this expectation for districts now back in May of 2019. In the fall and in the spring, we really worked to develop this threat assessment team within our district. So each building has its own unit, and we provided training, Officer Baldwin and myself, to this team. And then Officer Baldwin, in the spring of last year, continued additional coursework, which was voluntary at the time, through the Ohio Attorney General's office. So now part of that includes working on safety assessments for the district and each building. And so Officer Baldwin is going to be including the tool that we need to utilize, and then implementing that in coordination with our our emergency operations and safety plans.
Yeah, so with the threat assessment, that was, I believe there was one of those collaborative efforts where the teamwork really paid off, where things came across our radar and we all got together and thought that that was beneficial to look into that well before they mandated anything. And that's why I appreciate working with the administrators and Amanda on these things, because we seem to be a couple steps ahead of what they're predicting for everybody else. And it's always good to be on that. And I like being up front.
Great. And then Officer Baldwin, do you want to speak about, kind of your role this year and how that's changed a little bit due to COVID-19, but really what you have been able to do?
Right. So after the initial lockdowns and things that happened at the end of March, I was sent right back to road patrol. So obviously it kind of discontinued from that point on, but it never really, the relationship doesn't get severed because I'm still in email communication and contact. So if there were something to come up as far as virtual goes and things like that, I had communications if somebody needed to get me based upon some kind of thing, which ended up being later on when we came to this fall, we saw some issues arise because of the additional increased use of technology. We had some technological issues of people coming in, interrupting Zoom meetings, or just some students and doing some things with Chromebooks that were inappropriate. And I was able to help look into those things and work on that. Obviously, just assisting the staff with the protocols that you guys have all come into place with the collaboration with the health departments and the CDCs, and just being a support in that. And I think overall is just being present and showing the students and staff that just because we're dealing with the pandemic, that this other side of safety has not been neglected or disregarded. It's still important as a whole comprehensive aspect of the program. And then obviously the limitations in the classrooms because of the things that need to get done for the teachers. I've kind of been limited in that aspect, but there are times where I can walk by, and if there's a topic that's kind of relatable, teachers will welcome me in, allow me to interact with the students on that, and then come back out. So there's still time where I'm seeing the students in different aspects, especially with everybody being back in. Traffic control I've taken a little bit more of a role in that in some of the other buildings because of the increased traffic with the lessening of people putting children on the buses, to try to help alleviate some of those patterns there. And again, just the overall presence in certain areas when kids are coming in for the morning arrivals or the afternoon arrivals, just being a presence and them knowing that I'm there to help or assist and just be visible.
And then we are currently in the process of, luckily we were able to obtain a grant for a new radio system, essentially walkie-talkies throughout the district, from an administrative perspective, as well as general radios to be used by our staff. So Officer Baldwin worked in collaboration with Chris Wifter to upgrade our radios. In addition, Officer Baldwin has created a standard operating procedure and is working with each individual who will be in possession of one of these radios on individual training. And I don't know if you want to add to that, Officer Baldwin, at all.
Sure. So the radio upgrade it's an in-between of almost like a mobile Marks radio system and just your normal functional everyday use radios. These radios can be used on a building level, just in communications between if they want to use it on a playground per se, or in a certain area of the school. Those who are designated radios can communicate with each other. The benefit of the radios is that there's an emergency channel that once it's turned to, it commandeers all other radios in the district. So no matter what building you are, if somebody activates that channel and something's going on, you're going to get firsthand information of what's happening. And then after March 5th, there's a tie-in into the dispatch center. Well, once that channel's activated, dispatch will immediately be alerted to the radio traffic on those radios. So if there's ever an emergency to that extent or a critical violent incident, that will be firsthand relayable information that dispatch can use to start deploying resources. If I'm physically dealing with something, my radio traffic is going to be limited. But if they hear other people giving updates, they're going to have that information real time. And so in an emergency, it's very, very helpful. And the upgrade project came about as a result of us training together and seeing needs and then looking how we can meet those needs and improve on an area where we saw not necessarily weakness, just a way that we can make it better.
Great. Were
Thanks.
there any? Oh, sorry, go ahead, Dr.
No,
Hunt.
thank you, Mike and Amanda. Are there any questions on the board at this point?
Blood, and I don't mean to put you guys on the spot, so feel free to table this answer if you want to. But I know that when we structured the agreement between the district and the police department, it was very carefully constructed with regard to student discipline versus criminal behavior and activity. And I know where critiques come of SRO programs around the country, they often have to do with SRO officers getting involved with student discipline. So would you feel comfortable just giving an overview of how we've navigated that and created an appropriate separation?
Absolutely. Officer Baldwin's involvement in any type of student disciplinary situation really only rises to that level if, or really only has risen to that level if potentially drugs were involved or alcohol or some type of illegal substance. In that way, within the code of conduct, it does, indicate that we would potentially involve law enforcement. There are other times in which, because of the relationship that Officer Baldwin has built with some of our students, he may be the best person to have a conversation with them when it comes to maybe an infraction of the code of conduct, or really just in general, because of that relationship, he's able to talk to them. And, they confide in him oftentimes, or they feel comfortable sharing information with him. And so he himself does not impose any discipline or consequences, but sometimes it does require us to work in tandem. He may be the one who pulls up the video camera footage, for me in order to be able to access the information that I need to make an appropriate decision. But again, his involvement is really more in that realm. Does that help to answer a little bit? Okay.
Hey, Bob, actually, some of a parochial question. This is a baseline. So what is basically the funding makeup, for SRO, the breakup in between the school and the different cities?
Yeah, I'd have to pull the agreement. Essentially, without giving you numbers, there's a small contribution made from South Russell, and then between Chagrin Falls Village Police Department and the school district, we essentially do it on it's basically a per diem. So when Officer Baldwin was with us, we're paying his daily rate with benefits and retirement put in, and when he's with the police department, they pick that up. And I will tell you that during COVID and when we were shut down, they were very appropriately took him in, utilized the services, and did not bill us back for that time. So the relationship has been very, very good. We essentially, as the district, bill South Russell annually for their contribution. I believe that's $5,000. Ashley, I don't know if you know.
Annually, yes. And then the village bills us, I believe, per pay period.
Mm-hmm.
Is that correct, Amanda? And we pay the village directly. If you want details on how much has been spent, I can pull it for you. I don't know offhand, but
yeah, if you don't mind, just to see of the pie graph, like who pays what percent, just to understand for the baseline. And yeah, Officer Baldwin and Mrs. Rossi, it's great to hear how you've been working together. And I'm just curious. I'm in the numbers tonight. Well, I guess I'm in the numbers every night, but like kind of what is the breakdown in between your time spent, Officer Baldwin at, the high school versus the middle school versus intermediate school versus Gurney?
Yeah, Mr. Rankin, this question gets answered a lot, or I mean, asked a lot, and I love answering it because I've done a lot of research based upon a lot the reports that have come out on prior incidents and things that have happened. And I pretty much try to cater my time to make sure that I'm in the building that has the most likely chance for something to happen. That doesn't mean that I don't get to the other buildings, but when you look at the research and where you're best fitted to be, that's where I like to be, especially during times of arrival or dismissal. Those are always times where the numbers have been for the facts that we do have. So I try to cater it towards that. I do still try to get around to all the buildings weekly, and if not multiple times a week, just to make sure that I'm coming in contact. And that's also helpful too, because then I get to know the students at younger ages. And now I've already seen many come through different buildings in 4 years. So I can start to see that, and they feel more comfortable talking to me in the hallways and different things like that. So I think that's helpful as well. But I probably spend the majority of my time with the high school just because there's more to do, more functions there. And then the middle school, it's attached, so it makes it a little bit easier. And then intermediate and Gurney.
And I would just piggyback off of that. Officer Baldwin does go to the intermediate school every day to assist with arrival and works collaboratively with Mr. Howell, especially when situations do arise that might require additional support, whether in or outside of school.
I just, 4 years ago, when we would do surveys, safety and security of our students would rise to the top repeatedly among parents. And since this program has been implemented, I think there's much more confidence around safety and security. I think seeing you on the campuses goes a long way. And I know that the relationships you're establishing with students are very helpful. To Catherine's point, there was a lot of work about wording the contract and how to make sure that this was implemented in a way that would work within the culture of our schools. And because it is really a credit to both of you and the work you've done with all of the building administrators, Officer Baldwin, because it's definitely, your personalities are critical to the success of this. And so just wanted you to know how appreciated we all are that both of you are fulfilling this role for us.
Thank you very much. We really appreciate that. We know that, having had the experiences that we have in the last few years and around the country as it relates to safety, we know that this is the top priority and on the minds of parents and students every day. And so anything that we can do to provide some reassurance and to build supports and structures in place that not only for our staff to feel confident and to be trained, in a way that they feel comfortable and confident with, but then also our students. I see students every single day who walk in and who really just engage in like genuine dialogue with Officer Baldwin. Like they like him, and not a lot of.
To quote one of my students, "You're one cool dude." So that's more than I get.
Yeah. So. Right. And just to see that, not a lot of kids have positive interactions with law enforcement, and to see the relationship that they've been able to build with Officer Baldwin, as well as other officers, in the community. I mean, that really was the catalyst for this program. We've always maintained a good relationship with our law enforcement, officers and our local, first responders. And so this is just an extension of that. And to your point, Officer Baldwin really is really the best fit for this position. So we are really lucky to have him.
So I think I'll wrap it up because you guys are slowly stealing all of my comments that I was going to close with. When you go through a process and you identify a need and you put a position out, the success of that position is only as good as the person you put in it. And I think, I appreciate the collaboration we have with the village. And I think Mike is certainly the right person for this, the right temperament, the right approach with young people, able to work with both adults and students equally. Hopefully tonight you got a sense of how involved and engaged he is. I mean, we've done everything from tabletop activities administratively to radios, crisis planning, and obviously all of the incidents that happen along the way. Mike does a good job, and with Amanda as well, communicating to both South Russell and Chagrin Falls, providing them updates and reports on progress. And I think that's led to everyone believing this is a very valuable position for the school district. So want to thank you, Officer Baldwin, Ms. Rossi, for not only being here tonight, but for making this such a success, improving the safety security for our district. But I think that's kind of just a given in terms of this role. It's that relationship piece, the connection, getting in front of classes that really separates good SROs. And Mike has done that, and Amanda's helped kind of bridge that gap into our school district. So unless there's additional questions, we will clock you out for overtime tonight. Appreciate you being here.
Thank you.
John. Thank you all.
Yep. Thank you very much.
And unless there's questions for me, that concludes my report.
All right. Thank you very much, Dr. Hunt. Now we'll move on to audience and community participation. I did not have anybody reach out to me to ask to join us tonight. Did you, Dr. Hunt?
I did not.
Ms. Brodno, did you?
Nope, I did not.
Okay, we'll go ahead and move forward, but obviously the invitation is always there for the public. Moving on next, if I could have a motion for consent agenda items 7A through 7F.
So moved.
All right, we'll take Sharon.
I'll second.
All right, thank you, Greg. All right, any discussion? All right, seeing none, Ms. Brudno, if you'd please take the roll.
Mr. Rankin,
Yes.
Mrs. Garvey,
Yes.
Mrs. Bros,
Yes.
Mr. Kanziger,
Yes.
Mrs. O'Toole.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Next, if I could have a motion for,
Sorry, I meant to ask a question.
Okay.
I'm curious what we're scanning with the scanning proposal. It looks like a lot of photographs or something.
No, this is scanning of documents. I think right now we're starting with old employee files.
Okay.
And then eventually we would move to current employee files, student records, kind of everything. It's with the same company that currently holds all of our financial POs and requisitions and all that stuff.
When I looked at it, for some reason, I thought it said something about photos. So I think they're taking photos of documents and then incorporating.
Oh, mhm.
Sorry. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Digitizing things has been on our radar for years and years and years. So
Yeah.
this is kind of starting that process and moving it forward. And I know Mike and Ashley both worked on bringing this forward. So it's a great thing. And there will be a day where the microfiche machine at the high school that 1,000 years old won't be needed anymore. So we look forward to that day.
We still have a microfiche machine. Oh boy.
gonna say we're running out of people that know how to operate it.
Yeah.
Jan,
You know what it
you accepted Jan Hancock's retirement, so it was kind of like a going away gift. We're going to send the microfiche machine over.
Oh, perfect.
All right, moving on. If I could have a motion for Superintendents Recommendation 8A through 8G.
So moved.
Second.
Right. Thank you, Greg. Thank you, Mary Kay. Dr. Hunt, if you would address these items for us.
Sure. Tonight I'm recommending the acceptance of a resignation from Nancy Vondrak. We appreciate her service to the school district. I would point out with items B, C, D, and E, those are not additional positions, as well as F. Those are not additional positions. You've accepted various resignations and we're backfilling those. And then item G is an agreement for the employment of Rachel Vanderground. We had a maternity leave that came sooner than we anticipated, and the candidate pool of Spanish teachers is very, very thin. So we're lucky to find Rachel. We had to kind of reach an agreement with her to have her fill that position for the remainder of the school year.
All right. Any other discussion, questions? Okay. Ms. Brudno, if you'd please take the roll.
Mr. Rankin,
Yes.
Mrs. Garvey,
Yes.
Mrs. Burrows,
Yes.
Mr. Kinzinger,
Yes.
Mrs. O'Toole.
Yes.
All right, moving on to, if I could have a motion for Treasurer's Recommendation 9A and 9B.
So moved.
Catherine, second.
Second.
All right, thank you, Sharon. Ms. Brudno, if you'd please speak to these items.
Absolutely. Item A is the tax rate resolution. After discussion with the county auditor and further review of our values, we decided to take the actual millage on the resolution down from what was approved from the tax budget. So that's good news. Everybody's taxes will be 0.1 mils less than what we had anticipated at the January 6th budget hearing and approval of that budget. So it is 0.1 mils less, which is always good news. And then item B is the disposal of equipment. There are some devices there that are old, not repairable or not worth repairing, that we are going to sell to a company so that we can have credit for new devices.
The microfiche will be on that list eventually.
Eventually it will. Yes.
Just a question on the millage. Was that on bond millage?
It was on bond millage.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So that fluctuates from year to year. That is based on what we actually need to pay the debt. So when you actually pass a levy on a bond, the millage that we put on the ballot language is an estimate, and it's estimated throughout the life of the debt to pay the debt off. So as the property values fluctuate, the millage can fluctuate a little.
Okay. All right. Any further questions or discussion? All right, Ms. Brudno, if you'd please take the roll.
Mr. Rankin,
Yes.
Mrs. Garvey,
Yes.
Mrs. Burrows,
Yes.
Mr. Kinzinger,
Yes.
Mrs. O'Toole.
Yes.
Awesome. All right. Other business. Any other business on anybody's mind?
I would just, I guess, address, we will have the first group that will receive their second vaccination. It will occur tomorrow at the Cuyahoga County ESC. So that will be a fairly substantial percentage of our staff that will have received this second vaccination. And then next Friday, we'll have the remainder of our staff be vaccinated here. We've had to, as you know, and was communicated, we've had to adjust the school schedules. Partially, the reason was the clinic next Friday, rather than we'd originally had school for the first vaccine and spread those shots out during teacher planning periods. We were asked by the county to condense that schedule so they could put more people in the afternoon. So all of our staff will be vaccinated in the morning. That's why we had to go asynchronous, or at least those assigned, we had to go asynchronous that day. So by the 19th, I guess it is, all of our staff that was interested, which was a pretty substantial percentage, will have received both vaccinations.
That's great. And was there much of a, fallout or sick days following the first round?
There were a few, not many at all. I think everybody, the largest percentage of folks fell in the sore arm category without any significant side effects. Now, obviously, round two we've heard different things about, so we'll see how that plays out.
And the next vaccine's on the 19th, right?
It is the 19th. I'm sorry. So
You said that, okay.
first group is the is Cuyahoga County tomorrow from 8 to, I think it's 10 for our district. And then the 19th, it'll be here, but those times will be adjusted. So those people that are scheduled to be vaccinated are going to receive an update on what time they should come.
I wanted to give a quick update on the superintendent search, and just a reminder that next Friday is our deadline for applicants, which means next weekend we will be receiving the list of applicants from K-12 for our review. Bob gathered some information as well on the use of Pradco as kind of an addendum to some of the evaluations that we're going to be doing, and I shared that out with you guys. If you have any comments or feedback on that, I think we're going to move forward with the executive level work from Pradco. And also, I spoke with Kristen Toll today about the work we've already done with regard to the search profile. So in fact, she was involved in the one of the focus groups. So that's great. She has a very good sense of what we're looking for, and she'll incorporate that into their work. She's also going to see if she can give us a very simple assessment that we could consider administering to the candidates for the first interview. So it might help us sort or prioritize or wean out candidates that would be going into that first interview. And then our finalists would be subject to a much more intensive assessment from them. So I wanted to let you guys know that. And if you could just give me a call, let me know if you have any thoughts or feedback or anything you want me to know before we move forward on that.
Okay. Sounds good. Any other business? All right. Our next meeting will be Thursday. Is that right? Thursday, March 18th. Right. Okay, just checking. Thursday, March 18th at 6 p.m. via video conference. Okay, Ms. Garvey.
We're going to move into executive session in accordance with Ohio Revised Code 121.22. The Chagrin Falls Board of Education will go into executive session for the sole purpose of consideration of the following matter: preparation for, conducting, or reviewing negotiations or bargaining sessions with public employees concerning their compensation or other terms and conditions of their employment.
We need a second.
Second.
Okay, Ms. Brudenow, if you please take the roll.
Mr. Rankin.
Yes.
Mrs. Garvey.
Yes.
Mrs. Brose.
Yes.
Mr. Kinzinger.
Yes.
Mrs. O'Toole.
Yes.
All right, great. We expect no further action following executive session.